Tom Selleck suddenly speaks up about Steve McQueen at the age of 80. Tom Selleck was born Thomas William Selleck on January 29, 1945, in Detroit, Michigan. He grew up mostly in Southern California. It took Selleck a long time to become famous. His early life showed the values that would eventually shape his work and how he was seen by the public: discipline, perseverance, humility, and a strong regard for hard labor. These traits would help him a lot in an industry known for short-lived fame and constant change. Selleck got a basketball scholarship to the University of Southern California. At first, he saw his future as far away from Hollywood. But it was during these years that talent scouts noticed him because of his tall, strong build, good appearance, and natural confidence. He was encouraged to try acting, so he started studying drama while working in commercials and making tiny TV appearances to pay the bills. These early years were full with rejection and anger. Selleck tried out for parts again and over again and lost many of them, including those that would later become famous when given to other actors. These disappointments didn't make him bitter. Instead, they made him more determined and improved his sense of professionalism. He learned to be patient in a profession that typically rewards quickness, and he developed a down-to-earth attitude that set him apart from many of his peers. The TV show Magnum, which aired in 1980, made Tom Selleck a household name. P.I. played Thomas Magnum, a private investigator in Hawaii who was laid back but had strong morals. Selleck hit a nerve in the culture. His performance combined comedy, vulnerability, knowledge, and physicality in a way that felt natural and easy. The part made him famous all over the world, and his famous mustache became one of the most well-known features in TV history. Magnum P.I. was successful not just because it looked good on the surface, but also because Selleck gave the character emotional depth by showing how military experience, dedication to friends, and a strong internal moral compass shaped him. He won an Emmy for his performance, which solidified his status as a leading man with depth. Selleck made a conscious and frequently dangerous choice at the height of his celebrity on TV. He wouldn't give up Magnum P.I. for the sake of becoming a Hollywood star right away. He notably lost the lead role in Raiders of the Lost Ark because of this choice. That role went on to define another actor's career, but Selleck's dedication to his contracts and his regard for working with others said a lot about who he was. He showed that success didn't have to come at the cost of one's morals in a time when ambition often took precedence over honesty. This decision changed the course of his cinematic career, but it also made him more respected in the business. Tom Selleck showed that he could do a lot of different things when he moved more fully into film. He showed off his romantic appeal and humorous timing in 3 Men and a Baby, his dramatic intensity in and Out, and his emotional restraint in movies like Mr. Baseball, where he played an older athlete dealing with cultural displacement and personal regeneration. Selleck was often cast as the ideal American man, strong, confident, and stoic, but he always looked for roles that showed how vulnerable people really are. His performances made it clear that he knew his limits, was willing to laugh at himself, and wasn't hesitant to show how complicated he was emotionally. He returned to television in a big way in 2007 and 2008 as A.J. Cooper on the hit show Las Vegas. The show took place in a fancy casino with bright lights and huge stakes. It went beyond the flashing lights and rolling dice to illustrate the personal and professional problems that the people who ran the casino had to deal with. His act gave the show a sense of seriousness and authority, reminding viewers that the Strip was a dangerous place to work where people were always under pressure, loyal to their bosses, and at risk. That same year, he and Kathy Baker gave a strong and quietly fascinating performance in the TV mystery movie Jesse Stone, Sea Change. 2007, the movie was based on a book by Robert B. Parker. It was about a police chief who was very introspective and was dealing with an unsolved murder as well as his own feelings of loneliness, responsibility, and moral commitment. His portrayal of Jesse Stone, a man who has lost everything, has a strong sense of right and wrong, and is always looking for justice, really struck a chord with audiences. The part was so important that he would go on to play the character again in several other movies, making Jesse Stone one of the most well-known and respected characters in TV crime drama. Tom Selleck has made a lot of surprise choices in his career after Magnum P.I. These selections show that he is eager to try new things, change, and stay culturally relevant even as he gets older. In 2010, he made people laugh by playing Mr. Kornfeld in the light-hearted comedy Murderers. Selleck's presence gave a layer of warmth and familiarity to the film, even though it wasn't a main role. It reminded viewers why his easygoing charm and strong screen presence have lasted for decades. Selleck's performance showed that he could make a lasting impression even in supporting roles. He did this by combining seasoned assurance with a self-aware sense of humor that appealed to both long-standing fans and fresh audiences. 2 years later, in 2012, Selleck became the face of Coldwell Banker's national advertising campaign, which took him beyond movies and TV. The ads focused on how owning a home can make you feel good, which fit well with Selleck's public image as a trustworthy, down-to-earth, and reassuring person. His participation gave the campaign an air of authenticity because he spoke not only as a famous person who supported it, but also as a well-known person whose voice invoked stability and traditional values. For a lot of people, seeing Selleck in these ads made them think of him as a symbol of comfort and reliability, which were the traits that distinguished his roles on television for years. Selleck took on another high-profile spokesman role in 2016, this time as the spokesperson for American Advisors Group, a company that gives reverse mortgages. Once again, he took part in a way that was planned and fit with his mature, well-respected image. The campaign was aimed at elderly homeowners, and Selleck's calm, authoritative tone helped make a complicated financial topic easier to understand. Instead of using showy sales techniques, he gave people comfort and clarity, making himself a trusted guide instead of just a famous face. This move showed how Selleck had moved on to a part of his profession where credibility and life experience were the most important things about him. Selleck's unexpected musical milestone was probably the most surprising and lovable thing about him. He made his record debut as a singer in 2021, singing the iconic song "Yes Sir, That's My Baby" with Nicholas King. The tape, which was made live in 2001 during their theatrical run of 1,000 Clowns, finally came out to the public when Club 44 Records published it on King's CD Act 1. The song showed a side of Selleck that not many people know about. He was lighthearted, comfortable, and musically confident. Fans who were used to his tough movie demeanor got a nice look at how versatile he is and how much he loves performing in all its forms when they heard him sing. Tom Selleck's personal life, especially his marriages and becoming a parent, shows a softer, more down-to-earth side of him that was frequently very different from his larger-than-life movie persona. Tom Selleck married model Jacqueline Ray in 1971, while his acting career was still new and he wasn't yet a famous TV star around the world. During a time when he was becoming an adult, the marriage made him a husband and stepfather. Jacqueline Ray had a small kid named Kevin from a previous relationship. Selleck legally adopted Kevin and reared him as his own. He made this choice because he felt responsible and committed. He became a father early on, even though he was dealing with the uncertainty and financial instability that many struggling performers in Hollywood face. Selleck worked frequently in the 1970s, but he wasn't really famous. He was in commercials, guest stints on TV shows, and tiny movie roles. It wasn't easy to balance these work obligations with family life, and the marriage lasted through years of moderate success, auditions, and career disappointments. But as the years went by, the stress of ambition, being apart, and the changing personalities of both partners took their toll. Selleck's career was set to change a lot in the early 1980s when Magnum PI was poised to make him a household figure. Selleck and Ray got divorced in 1982 after being together for more than 10 years. Even after the marriage ended, Selleck stayed in touch with his adoptive son and has always said that time in his life was vital for helping him grasp family duty and growing up. In 1987, 5 years later, Tom Selleck married Jill Mack, a British actress and dancer he met while she was performing in the London theatrical musical Cats. Their love started away from the Hollywood spotlight, and from the start, they both wanted seclusion and stability. Selleck's first marriage happened during a time when he wasn't sure what he wanted to do with his profession. In contrast, he was already a big star when he married for the second time. He was famous throughout the world for his work on Magnum PI, but instead of letting stardom take over his personal life, he made conscious efforts to keep it safe. He turned down several big opportunities, cut back on his job, and started putting his home life ahead of being in the public eye all the time. In December 1988, the couple had a daughter named Hannah Margaret Selleck. Selleck's life choices were deeply affected by becoming a father for the second time. He famously left Magnum PI at the height of its fame so he could spend more time with his family. He was determined to be a present and involved parent. Selleck and Mac reared Hannah on their ranch in California, mostly away from Hollywood. She grew up around animals, outside life, and a feeling of normalcy that was very different from the world of celebrities. Selleck has talked a lot about how vital it was to him that his daughter grow up in a stable environment, stressing virtues like discipline, hard work, and privacy. At the age of 80, Tom Selleck suddenly started to think about the lengthy path his life and profession had taken, and by doing so, he ultimately decided to talk about Steve McQueen, one of Hollywood's most famous characters. For years, Selleck mostly stayed out of the public eye, even though his name was regularly brought up with McQueen's as a symbol of tough masculinity, quiet charm, and a particularly American film presence. But time, thought, and a new point of view can break old silences. Selleck said that McQueen's shadow loomed huge over a whole generation of actors who grew up in the late 1960s, and 1970s, Steve McQueen was more than just a movie star. Selleck said he had an attitude. You didn't study him as you did your acting teachers. You took him in. He said that McQueen was a kind of raw independence that seemed real instead being fake, and that it was something that couldn't be taught or copied. McQueen set a standard for young actors that was both encouraging and scary. Selleck said that he couldn't help but notice McQueen when he thought about his own early years in Hollywood. His name came up in every casting room and every conversation. He remembered that people weren't asking if you could act like Steve McQueen. They wanted to know if you had anything that felt as real as he did. Selleck said that this comparison put him under a lot of stress, but it also made him figure out who he was as an actor. Selleck decided that instead of trying to copy McQueen's style, he needed to make something that was all his own. Selleck talked on McQueen's reputation for being aggressive and rebellious after the fact. People said Steve was hard to get along with, but I don't think that's true. He said he knew what he wanted, and when something didn't seem right, people in this business might not like that kind of honesty. Selleck said that McQueen's refusal was less about his ego and more about safeguarding his sense of truth, both on and off screen. Selleck also talked about McQueen's weaknesses, which is something that wasn't often talked about during McQueen's life. Selleck said gently, "People forget how much pain he carried. Fame doesn't make your past go away. It can sometimes just draw attention to the areas you're still trying to get away from." He thought about how McQueen's early problems made him more intense and how that intensity showed up in performances that still have an impact decades later. As Selleck got older, he began to feel more like he understood McQueen. He added, "When you're young, you think legends can't be broken. At 80, you see that everyone was just trying to do their best with what they had." He said that seeing McQueen's career burn so brightly and expire so soon was a warning. It reminded Selleck how important it is to have balance, family, and to take a break when you need to. Selleck made it clear that he never wanted to copy McQueen. He declared he didn't want to be the next Steve McQueen. There was already one, and he did it perfectly. Selleck, on the other hand, focused on longevity and chose pursuits that would let him grow older with dignity instead of trying to stay young. He thinks that in that way, their legacies work together instead of against each other. Selleck's decision to speak up made it evident that McQueen is still a huge part of his life, not as a competitor but as a standard. "Steve showed us what it meant to be real." Selleck said, "The rest of us just tried to be honest in our own way." Selleck's words, at 80, carry the weight of experience, respect, and gratitude. They turn a long-held silence into a profound tribute to a man who helped shape an era of American cinema.